Good morning and welcome back here for another episode, number 219 today. So,
cool.
What are you up to today?
We set up our Christmas tree. It's very festive in this room, so I'm feeling like the Christmas spirit and a lot of joy. How about you?
Well, right now I'm currently in Mexico sitting on a beach, so I'm feeling great.
Are you?
Yeah. Are you not with me?
I am with you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm with you.
So, recording this early. Guess we're getting away for a couple days. Trying to detox from all the Christmas stress, Thanksgiving stress. We've been around a lot of family, and we just had to get away from it all.
See, I'm like festive and joyful, and he's like family stress. We look at the holidays very differently.
Yeah. So, going to be talking about sleep schedule today.
Just you saying it makes me want to yawn.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like, I'm like fighting a yawn right now. I don't know.
Here it is. Get it out of your system now, because we don't want a whole podcast of yawning.
It's gone. Okay.
So, it doesn't matter what time of day we podcast. We podcast at all different times of day. When we turn the microphone on, she yawns.
I don't know what it
It's
is.
so weird. Something psychological is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's all right.
things are going well here. December's here. Christmas right around the corner. So it'll be here. We're sitting in here in the studio, living room, and our Christmas tree's up. Got Christmas decorations all around. So it's here.
It's here. And we love it. I love it.
Are
He's
you
like,
ready?
Whatever. I'm ready. Let's do this, babe.
I mean, I do have things I'm looking forward to.
Such as?
We're doing a Christmas getaway with our girls instead of getting them a bunch of gifts this year.
Can't wait.
So, like, I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be fun.
Okay.
And Christmas goodies. So,
Yeah. You like Christmas dinner?
yeah, I like Christmas dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shepherd's pie, in case you're wondering.
Mm-mm.
Wait, what?
It's not shepherd's pie for Christmas dinner. It's always chicken pot pie.
Oh, that's
Homemade
right.
chicken pot pie.
I knew it was some sort of pie.
You're like, I can't wait for shepherd's pie. I'm like, you idiot. You have that on your birthday.
Oh, yeah.
The kids voted. Everybody voted that Christmas dinner is homemade chicken pot pie. With like homemade crust and filling in it.
Which is really good. It's really good.
You still looking forward to it?
I
now
am.
that you actually know what it's going to be?
I am, but I'm now I want shepherd's pie, though.
I can make that happen. I have lamb in the fridge right now.
All right, I'll wait. We'll all wait.
All right, record the episode.
Okay.
Jeez Louise, the things I got to go through.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my beautiful, stunning wife, Lysandra. Charlene Osterkamp. Hashtag Gilchrist.
Hello, and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 219 of the Family Meeting Podcast. We're glad that you're with us today. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the importance of sleep, both to you and your family. This is an episode I can get behind.
Yeah.
I love me some sleep.
Well, and if anybody understands the importance of sleep, it is Lysandra. Like, she literally will break down if she doesn't get the sleep she needs.
Yes, not just emotionally, although yes, emotionally, but also physically. I get really severe migraines if I don't get enough sleep. I can go one night without like a good night's sleep, but if I go 2 nights, there's a guaranteed migraine that will debilitate me.
Yeah, so she has a strict bedtime.
Yep, sleep is important. I understand that now that I'm old. But we are going to start at the beginning of sleep with baby sleep schedules. We're going to talk about that. That'll actually be a big chunk of our episode today. We think of you new mothers. We feel for you new mothers. We know how hard it is. Maybe you mothers who have 1-year-olds and you are still getting up throughout the night. I feel for you, you poor, poor women. It is so tough.
I love that stage, but I remember how exhausting that stage is.
It is exhausting.
That's a young parent's game right there.
Yes, it is for sure. One of the most disruptive forces in your entire life will be that first child. Like how it they change everything, especially your sleep patterns. And so today we are going to talk about how to help yourself and your baby get more sleep. And we also want to talk about the importance of sleep to your older children and teenagers. So no matter what your age or your children's age, sleep is important. And we're going to talk about it today, if everybody else stay awake through this episode.
Before we jump into today's episode, though, we want to talk about 31 days of wisdom for couples. Because our book is here, it's out, it's available. If you pre-ordered, that pre-order is being shipped out to you. So what a wonderful opportunity. And I'm trying to speak to the husbands here because this will speak volumes to your wife. If you buy 2 copies of 31 Days of Wisdom and you get it for your wife, and not just for her to go through, but it's, hey, honey, I want to go through this with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through the book every day on our own. We'll go read the chapter. We'll write everything down that we're supposed to write down. And then we'll come together at the end of the day and talk through each chapter for 31 days. I'm telling you guys, she will be absolutely thrilled. It'd be the best thing that you got her in a very, very long time.
I agree.
Because it's not just about the gift itself. It is the time together. It is working on your marriage. It is growing closer to God together. And nothing will grab your heart's wife faster.
Your wife's heart.
Than all that. Yes. Than all of that.
Yes,
so go to familymeeting.org/shop and you can order your copy, 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples, right there.
Awesome. How important is it really for you and your spouse and your children to get sleep? How important is sleep really? Some of us don't understand the importance of sleep. I know I didn't in my 20s and half of my 30s. I did not understand how important sleep was because it wasn't until my mid 30s, maybe even my 36, 37. So I guess that would be late 30s, that I finally understood the reason I was getting ill was it was like a pattern. I finally figured out the pattern. When I would get ill, it was because of sleep, lack of sleep.
Yeah.
So it took me that long. But that's really the question that we want to answer at the start of our episode today is how important is sleep really? Okay. So sleep is going to affect a lot of things. It affects your physical health because yes.
I was just going to ask, what does Webster Dictionary say about sleep?
I don't know what Webster's Dictionary defines sleep as.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I'm sure it has something about REM cycle.
We're going to get an interesting dictionary.
No, I don't quote the dictionary anymore because I get so much heat over the dictionary. So now poor listeners don't know what sleep is because I haven't looked it up in the dictionary and I can't share it with you.
I'm just curious if we were going to get a Webster's
because I can't catch the heat. I can't take the heat, man.
Okay.
You're too mean to me. I can't stand it.
What's Lysandra's definition of sleep?
Unconsciousness.
Okay.
Okay. So sleep does affect a lot of things, including your physical health, because sleep restores your body. It's so important to have sleep. During sleep, the body repairs tissues, strengthens the immune system, and restores energy level. Growth hormones are also released, promoting cellular repair and muscle growth. It regulates your hormones. So sleep even helps maintain a balance of key hormones that control appetite, stress, and mood. Okay? So sleep affects you in a lot of really important ways. I remember every time I've cared for one of our older family members after surgery, the doctor emphasized the importance of sleep for the repair and the recovery from the surgery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It also boosts immune function.
Okay.
A well-rested body has a stronger immune system, making it more effective at fighting off infections. It also supports metabolism. Proper sleep helps regulate blood sugar levels, supporting metabolism and reducing the risk of obesity and type 2 diabetes. So,
wait a minute. So if I want to lose weight, I just need to sleep more?
Yeah, because here's the thing.
This is a health pattern I can get on.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. If you're sleeping, you're not eating. So the more sleeping you do, the less eating you do. Sleep long enough, it can lead to calorie deficit, which leads to weight loss.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Okay. So yeah, sleep is good.
If you can sleep 18 hours a day, it's hard to cram in that many calories in 6. So.
Oh, you haven't seen me eat.
I have. I said hard, not impossible.
Okay, so those are some of the benefits physically from sleep, but sleep really affects our mental health. I'm assuming that you have already figured this out in your life, but let's talk about it. Sleep enhances cognitive function. So sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation, learning, and problem solving. So I know that as I hear these things, I'm thinking about myself, but what about our kids? Like, think about how your kids are affected by sleep as well. But it allows the brain to process and store information from the day. It also improves mood. This one is obvious if you have a toddler. Sleep helps regulate emotions and decrease irritability.
Well, and not just toddlers either, because there's times where I just tell my teenagers, go take a nap. Like,
Yeah. Your
attitude is your mood's horrible. Just go take a nap. And usually they'll go take a nap and they'll come back and it's like a fresh new person.
Yeah, it is. And that is right there. That's like the definition of sleep, right? Not from the dictionary, but the definition of sleep is like go to bed and wake up a new, better person. Chronic sleep deprivation, though, is linked to mood disorders like anxiety and depression. So just keep that in mind. But good, healthy sleep promotes mental clarity. Well-rested individuals have better focus, decision-making abilities, and creativity. So lack of sleep can lead to cognitive fog and impaired concentration. Now, one thing that I think is interesting is we are recording this podcast on a Sunday after our afternoon nap.
So it'll be interesting to hear from you if you think this episode's better than normal.
And normally we record our episodes in the morning right after the gym. So it's like gym, shower, episode.
Yeah.
Today it was like no gym, shower, church, lunch with a bunch of people, nap, record episode.
Yeah. So
either way, we get our sleep, man.
Let us know if we need better sleep. Mm-hmm. But it also helps reduce the levels of stress hormones like cortisol, which can build up during waking hours. So it's helping with stress relief.
Okay.
Adequate sleep allows the mind to reset and recover from daily stress. And if you have family, you have stress.
You're here.
It doesn't matter if you're just married or if you have kids or whatever else. You have the stress.
Yeah.
So sleep helps deal with that. And it regulates emotion. It helps in the process of emotions and regulating reactions to emotional events, which can improve relationships and emotional intelligence.
So what you're telling me is if I have proper sleep, it's going to actually improve my family relationships.
Yeah, it'll improve the way you deal with what happens.
Okay.
So not necessarily, it's not going to change your family, but it'll change how you can react to them.
So it'll make me less of a jerk.
Yes.
Which will make me easier to deal with, and I'm going to have better family relationships.
Yeah, and I think your nap should have been longer, really.
I agree, actually. I wish I could have slept longer. My naps are real short. So here's what my naps look like, people, and I know nobody cares about this, but you're going to hear it anyway. My naps look like me rubbing Thomas's head until he falls asleep, and then falling asleep myself for like 10, 20 minutes, and then waking back up and sneaking out of bed while you're still sleeping. You take longer naps than me.
You didn't sneak out, though. I know you left today.
Did you?
Yeah.
I was trying to sneak.
Once you get up, I wake up.
You can't handle it. Can't sleep without me.
So.
Poor little baby.
Yeah.
All right, listen, though. I think the bottom line, and I feel like we've proved it to you, sleep is super important, right? I'm pretty sure that you agree with us.
No one's arguing.
No one's arguing. If you're a mom with a new baby, one of the best things that you can do is try to get that baby on a good sleep schedule. Okay, so let's really shift our focus of our conversation right now to you new moms and dads, where you've got the newborn baby. It is hard, and we know it's hard. We know that your whole life has been changed, your family dynamic has changed, and you are not getting the same sleep that you are used to getting. So it is tough. But if you can get that baby on a good sleep schedule, it is going to benefit you. And it's going to also benefit that sweet little baby. So this is a goal.
Yeah.
I want to share with you one of the things we promised in our last episode that we would share today is what we did and what we would change.
Okay.
So our firstborn daughter is Catherine. She's the oldest. She just turned 19.
Which is insane.
Can't believe that it happened, but it went that fast. And I know everybody tells you it's going to go fast. It does, and you can't change it even if you know it. But I still remember very vividly 19 years ago when we brought her home. It was this season. It was in between. We went into labor Thanksgiving night. And so she was born right in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she was up all night. She had her days and nights mixed up.
Yeah, that's right.
She would sleep all day and be awake all night. And we even tried to like give her baths during the day to wake her up.
She
right?
would,
So, like,
and
we
she
put her in
would
water.
not wake up.
She would sleep through these baths. And I was like, I don't know what to do because everything in me knew like I've got to get this baby to be awake during the day and sleep at night. And one of the other moms in our church was like, oh, it's the nurse's fault. The nurses at the hospital, they must have been keeping her up at night and letting her sleep during the day. But I don't know if that was it or not.
It doesn't make sense to me.
I was feeding her day and night in the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, I did nurse her. So, but anyway, it was really tough. And before I had her, my mom had given me a book. It was not a book that even existed when I was a baby, so it wasn't something my mom had read, but somebody in her small group at her church back in Iowa had recommended this book. So my mom passed it on to me, and I had read this book called Baby Wise. And so if any of you new moms have not heard of it, it's called Baby Wise, and the little subtitle is Giving Your Infant the Gift of Nighttime Sleep by Gary Ezzo and Robert Bucknam. Okay, and this is a really good book. I loved it. There's a lot of controversy over this book. So some of you hear the term Baby Wise and you're like, oh, turn off the podcast, shut it down. I hate that book. There are people who like are really against this book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people are so passionate about this topic. It's like when you talk about nursing or bottle feeding and like how passionate people are about that. And listen, you can be passionate about this stuff and that's okay. But please don't ever shame another mom. Don't ever put down the way somebody else is doing it. They are doing what they need to do to survive, and they're doing what they need to do that they feel is best for their baby.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we have to do what we feel is best for our children in our context, in our circumstance. So even as we're talking about this, we're sharing what has worked well for us in our context and our circumstance. If you're passionate about getting your baby up every couple hours at night, and even if you have to wake them up to feed them, that's the choice you have to make for your kids.
Yeah. So I do want to make sure that all of our moms and our young moms and dads understand we're not putting anybody down, and we don't think there's only one way to do it. That's not true at all, and we recognize that. But we're just sharing what we did. So I read Baby Wise before I had Catherine, and then I have this baby who is asleep during the day and awake at night, and I am barely surviving. I mean, we've already talked to you about how I break down when I don't get enough sleep. I was 20 years old when I had her, and I didn't know that about myself. I didn't know myself at all. And so I didn't know how badly this lack of sleep was affecting me. But I was struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having like crazy mood swings.
And therefore I was struggling.
Yeah, you were. And of course I just had the baby. So there's already the hormones. I'm nursing her. And so it's a drain on my body. So it was definitely a tough time. But I want to share with you how this book and the system in this book actually really helped me. And I am happy to report that by 6 weeks old, Catherine was sleeping through the night. So it was a really rough 6 weeks period. In fact, I remember being at my parents' house for Christmas time and we slept in their basement. And I was so worried that I would keep them up because they were still working and everything. And I thought if I keep them up, they're going to have a hard time at work the next day. And I thought they could hear the baby. And so I would have Catherine laying on my chest and I would sleep like on my back and the baby on my chest throughout the night, just trying to keep her quiet because she was awake. She was wide awake.
Yeah.
It was like a really rough.
Well, and there's nothing more stressful as a parent than being in somebody else's house and trying to keep your baby quiet at night.
Oh, yes. It is so stressful.
It's like the only time that baby doesn't want to be quiet is at night when you're in somebody else's house.
I know. It's awful. But this book, I did follow the systems in this book, and it did help me. So we're going to share that with you today in case it's something that can help you. But their main thing is that they present a parenting approach that focuses on establishing a structured sleep routine for infants. And their book advocates for parent-directed feeding schedule. And they call it PDF, parent-directed feeding schedule. And this involves feeding the baby at regular intervals, encouraging awake time between feeds, and helping the baby differentiate between day and night. And so I did follow that pattern And that is what I did with our baby, our firstborn, and I kept that going with all 4 of the kids. And it really worked for us. Catherine was the longest one who stayed awake during the night. So she was 6 weeks before she slept through the night. Isabella slept through the night at 3 weeks. Abigail slept through the night at 2 weeks. And Violet slept through the night at 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So it really did work for our family. And so if this is something that you're struggling with, it may be a help to you. But let's talk about exactly what it is.
Well, and as Lysandra mentioned, it has a little bit of controversy. I don't think you can write a parenting book without having a little bit of controversy
Yes.
because people do have strong opinions. But the concerns that critics raise are about its rigid structure and potential for stress on both babies and parents. And we understand it's not for everyone, but it helped us a lot. Mm-hmm. And we do know and we do understand that it is good for you, it's good for your child to get good sleep.
Yes, we all can agree on that.
So whatever you think of the system and everything else, we know it is good for them to get good sleep. But the premise is that with consistency and a structured routine, infants can learn to sleep through the night at an earlier age, allowing parents to have more predictable and restful sleep. And so it emphasizes the importance of creating a calm, predictable environment for babies to foster healthy sleep habits. Mm-hmm. So that way they start to get a feel for, okay, it's time for bed now. It's time to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the key really to all of this, you guys, is just understanding your own personality. Doing what works best for you. Because I don't think it's just your circumstances. That's part of it, but it's also your personality. Every mom, we all have these different personalities, and we have to figure out what how we want to raise our kids, what kind of mom we want to be. And there's no wrong answer. It's just how are you built? Like, how do you function best? And this system in baby-wise did work for me because I'm a structured person. I love control. I love structure. I love routine. I thrive under it. And so it was really good for me. Structure doesn't bring me stress. It brings me relief and comfort. I am very comfortable in a very structured environment and schedule. So it worked really well for me. But the key in this book is, helping your baby sleep through the night. And that's creating a consistent and structured routine that teaches the baby to sleep independently. And that means you've got to have structure, routine, control. And some of you are like, those words are freaking me out. So some of you, this is just not a good idea, and that's okay. But you might as well hear it out and see if it'll work for you.
Give it a try if it'll help you be able to sleep better. But here's the main strategies that the book suggests. This PDF, parent-directed feeding, advocates for a predictable schedule of feeding, wake time, and sleep. Babies are fed at regular intervals, typically every 2.5 to 3 hours for newborns during the day, with the goal of gradually lengthening the time between feedings, especially at night. And the idea is to help the baby get into a rhythm, which will eventually lead to longer stretches of sleep at night.
Okay, so it's wake, eat, play, sleep. Then that's the cycle. And the recommended routine involves following that sequence. You start the day by wake, right? And you wake up the baby at a consistent time. Now, there are some people who will be like, never wake a sleeping baby.
Yes.
What are you thinking? I don't agree with that because I was just sharing with my girls the other day. The way that I looked at it is this tiny little baby is coming into our life, and this tiny little baby is not going to dictate what we do and how we live.
Yeah.
This baby is entering our lives, not us entering its. So therefore, I was like, if I want to go somewhere and do something, this baby is coming, and this baby's going to get up when I need to get it up.
Well, and when we're talking about sleeping, like, even when it came to what happened, what was going on in the house, like, we didn't change much of what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So we didn't make sure everything was super quiet. And so the baby got used to sleeping in has to be a totally quiet place because most of our lives, it's not feasible.
Right. Yeah. So we weren't super quiet when it was time for sleeping or napping. For
yeah. And so we just kind of lived our regular life and mm-hmm. routine.
Mm-hmm. And the babies all got used to sleeping with a little bit of noise outside, the door. So you wake up the baby whenever you want the baby to wake up. So say you need your day to start at 6 a.m., wake the baby up at 6 a.m. And then after you wake the baby, you feed the baby immediately when they wake up. So, and this is what I did with each one of our kids. And then play. So allow a wake time after feeding. So you're not feeding and then sleeping. You're feeding and then playing, or awake time. And then that can include like tummy time or gentle interaction, reading a book, whatever it may be. Maybe in the swing or the little, oh my gosh, the little walker thing.
Yep.
I miss baby days. And then after playing, it's sleep time. Put the baby down for a nap or bedtime when they show the sleep cues, and ensure that they don't become overtired. And this is exactly what we did. So here's the deal. If I knew that I needed to be at church at 9 a.m., then I knew that I needed to be available to teach my Sunday school class at 10. So that meant I had to be at church at 9, but available to teach at 10. And I needed that baby to not need me to feed her, through church. So what I would do is I would wake up the baby at, hang on, I'm remembering, 6. I'd wake up the baby at 6, feed her. And then she'd have playtime, and even if it was like a little nap or whatever. And then I'd make sure that I fed the baby again at 9 o'clock right when I got to church. And then I knew that I had 3 hours until I had to feed the baby again, because I had each of my daughters on this pretty strict 3-hour feeding regimen. So I knew that as soon as I fed my baby, I would have 3 hours of time before that baby needed to eat again. So then by 9:30, I was off to my Sunday school class, leave the baby in nursery, and I had until 12 to be able.
So it'd be done with church, and that baby was ready to eat.
And I had to make sure I got there right away and fed her, because otherwise, they were pretty cranky at that point. But basically, I made our babies enter our schedule, and I would wake them up at whatever time I needed, so that 3 hours later, I could have that second feeding and be where I needed to go. So that was how I organized every single day. And it worked. It worked really well.
Yeah.
Now, the sleeping, let's hear what the book says about sleeping, because we didn't necessarily follow this. We were pretty noisy, and we just had our regular stuff while the baby was sleeping.
Yeah, but they learned kind of when their whole sleep routine began and fell into that routine. But the book suggests establishing a calm and predictable sleep environment, and that's key. Now, we weren't like being super noisy and being super loud, but we didn't go out of our way to whisper or things like that. But they talk about a quiet, dimly lit room for naps and nighttime sleep. And some of you with multiple kids are like, "That's funny. That's never gonna happen." But keeping the baby in a safe sleep space like a crib, and following a consistent bedtime routine, and you get into this gradual nighttime sleep training.
Now, this worked for us.
Yeah.
This part worked for us really well.
And so the book suggests starting to extend nighttime sleep, done by allowing the baby to gradually increase the time between feedings during the night. Initially, you may need to wake the baby for feedings, but eventually the goal is for the baby to sleep longer stretches, eventually sleeping through the night. Typically around 8 to 12 hours by 12 weeks of age, though this can obviously vary. Now, we didn't wake the baby up at night and to feed. It was like, okay, if Catherine will sleep 4 hours, then we'll let her sleep 4 hours. If she'll sleep 6 or 8, let her sleep 6 or 8 and get into the routine herself.
But now, one thing that we did, so like when she was 4 weeks old, what I would be working towards during this infancy stage is during the day trying to feed only every 2.5 to 3 hours. And you kind of push that. It's maybe starts at 2 hours, right? Every 2 hours, that little infant, like brand new baby needs to feed. So you feed them every 2 hours. And then what you're doing is when they're ready to eat after 2 hours, instead of feeding them the second they get hungry, you're giving them the pacifier, you're patting them on the back, you're walking around with them, holding off that feeding for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So then for maybe a day or two, you feed them every 2 hours and 15 minutes. The next day or two, you bump that back to 2 hours and a half. So 2 and 30 minutes. And, and so on and so forth. Now, there are some moms who are completely against this. They believe like when my baby cries for food, I put food in that baby's mouth. That's okay. Like that's okay if that's what you want to do. This system worked really well for me because it gave me more freedom and more structure. Because then I had more time in between feedings, and especially with nursing, you have to sit pretty much and feed that baby. So your freedom was gone. But
which was like torture for you at times.
It was. I don't
nice to sit and just hold and enjoy your baby, but there was so many other things that you're like, oh, I got to get this done. I got to get that done.
Yeah, it was tough. So using this idea during the nighttime is the exact same thing. So if your baby is waking up every 3 hours at night to eat, you hear the baby start crying at 3 hours, you don't rush in and go get the baby. You let your baby cry for 15 minutes and then go in and get the baby and feed the baby. And you do that for a couple of nights, and pretty soon that baby is going to sleep 3 hours and 15 minutes. Then after that happens, you let them cry, and 15 minutes later you go feed them. So then 3 hours and 30 minutes you get, and you see you're bumping it back.
You're teaching them the pattern.
Yep. And eventually they sleep through the night. And I remember like it was yesterday, every single morning when I woke up and I was like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock.
We slept through the night.
She slept through the night.
Slept 6 hours.
You're so
8 hours
happy.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So I am a big advocate that this works and I believe in it, but I also believe in you doing what is best for your kid. So if this does not work for you and you think this is insane, don't do it.
Yeah, and so one of the things you want to be careful of is all of this is training your child, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things you want to be careful of is training your child to associate eating with falling asleep, mm-hmm. which is one of the reasons why he talks about after you feed them, make sure you're doing something with them, playing with them, or whatever else. Because if we're teaching them and training them that they need to eat in order to sleep, that can start to interfere with learning to sleep independently.
So here's where all the moms hate me and despise me, and I lose all my credibility.
Okay.
I never rocked our babies to sleep. Gasp. Yeah, that's people hate that. I mean, I know that a lot of you love, and your mom was like, oh, you got to rock the baby to sleep. That was my favorite time of my whole life, was rocking my babies to sleep.
To this day, Lysandra has to rock me to sleep.
And it's your mother's fault. And
Exactly.
I'm sick of it. Oh my goodness. For real though. So I never rocked my babies to sleep, and it was because of this book, because it talked about like not feeding them to sleep and not rocking them to sleep, because then you'll be doing that for a very long time. So it just talked about like when they're sleepy, you put them to bed. Yeah,
because then what we're training them to do, we can train them to do, is that they need us to sleep.
Right.
And then they won't sleep without us.
So then when grandma babysits, which grandma should be babysitting because you should be having date nights and away time with your spouse, by the way. Side note.
Yes.
But then the babies won't sleep for anybody else, and you can't get away. And you are now like, you're stuck. And that is a really tough thing. So I do believe in just like putting that baby in their crib, putting him to bed, shutting the door, they will go to sleep.
But whatever you choose to do, the overall goal is to create a routine that helps the baby sleep longer and more predictably at night, while also ensuring the baby gets enough nutrition during the day. And so whatever system or way you want to operate it, like that is the goal. Mm-hmm. And we always encourage you to do what's best for you and find what works for you.
Mm-hmm. So sleep is a factor in infancy. We all know that. If you've had a baby, you know that. If you've been around a baby, you know that. But it's equally important for your toddlers to get enough sleep. Like you think about that baby, yeah, they need sleep. But then your little toddlers running around, they exert so much energy. Their body is growing so quickly, which is why we share ages of babies and toddlers in months, right? We don't talk about, you're 117 months old, right? We stopped doing that. But when they're little, it's 12 months old, 18 months old, and so on, because so much happens in those months.
Where's the limit? Where's the limit on describing the months? What do you?
2 years, 24 months.
Okay.
That's when they.
That's where you stop?
No, that's where most people, like, I very rarely have anybody say, like, they're 48 months old. Never heard that.
Okay.
24 is the most I've ever heard. But it's because they change so much in that time. So, like, a 6-month-old compared to a 9-month-old has way different things that they can eat, ways that their body will handle, like, head up and tummy time or walking, crawling. And so it's important to, like, well, not only that, but, like, even clothing sizes, how much they grow. They grow out of 6-month clothes and are now 9-month clothes. But usually then by the age 2, it's 2T, 3T. So you just think about how much change happens when they're little. That baby, that toddler, they are growing so much, so fast. And they need their naps and they need their sleep at night. And it doesn't take long for a mom to learn that if your toddler doesn't get naps, they are transformed into monsters who will wreak havoc on the rest of the home and the family.
Oh, yeah.
It is a nightmare to take a toddler who hasn't had a nap anywhere. It will ruin your day, guys. It will ruin your day. We've been there, haven't we?
We've been there plenty of times.
God bless you.
Toddlers typically need 10 to 14 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period, including naps. The exact amount of sleep can vary depending on a child's age and individual needs. So you just got to take that into consideration. 1 to 2 year olds, around 11 to 14 hours of sleep, including 1 to 2 naps during the day. And then 3 to 5 year olds, around 10 to 13 hours of sleep. So just a little bit less with a single nap in some cases, though naps become less frequent after age 3. We always loved nap time around our house.
Yes, we kept it going as long as I possibly could.
Yeah, as long as they would take a nap, we tried to encourage them to take a nap.
And we had our kids in stair steps. I mean, we had all of our kids really close together, so we had 4 kids very quickly. And so what we would do is, even though my 8-year-old didn't need a nap, my 5-year-old did. And so even our 8-year-olds knew that it was rest time. So they would have books or quiet things in their room that they could play while everybody else took a nap. And I would tell them, you don't have to go to sleep, but you do have to lay down for 2 hours and be quiet. So every afternoon, it was 2 hours of quiet time. Now, when they were little, they had a morning nap that was about an hour to 2 hours. And then as they got older, that morning nap disappeared, and it was just the afternoon nap that was 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. What about your elementary kids? Maybe you have elementary age children in your family. So this would be typically ages 6 to 12 years old. Now these kids, although they will tell you they do not need sleep, they need around 9 to 12 hours of sleep each night. 9 to 12.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times our elementary kids are not getting enough sleep, especially if they're getting up at 6 a.m. to get ready to get to the bus. But this amount of sleep supports their growth, cognitive development, and overall well-being. It's important for your elementary kids to get plenty of sleep. So if they're not getting that 9 to 12 hours each night, it may be time to shift that bedtime a little earlier, because most likely you can't change the morning wake-up time.
Yeah.
Most likely, especially if your kids are in a public or private school.
So then you move on to the teenage years, 14 to 17-ish. They need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep per night just to support their physical and mental health. But the problem is a lot of teenagers aren't getting enough sleep. And that's for a number of reasons. School schedules, extracurricular activities, social media use, technology, all that stuff itself. That's why one of the things we encourage, no phones, no electronics after a certain time of night.
Yes.
There's so many studies on the effect that has on sleep patterns and all that kind of stuff. And so as a parent, we need to do our best to try to help them get the appropriate amount of sleep that each of them need. And some of them, depending on what's going on in their life and the changes and the growth and all that, they need much more than that even.
Absolutely. And I think teen years are a time when naps come back into play. As Thomas said, there are times when our teenagers are just cranky and there's nothing you can do, or they just can't stop crying. That partially has to do with being girls, but sometimes it's just that they need sleep. So there's a part of me that wants to tell you, if your teenager's a jerk, they need a nap. But then
some of that's just being a teenager.
Yeah, exactly. Some of that you just can't change.
Well, there's times where one of the girls is missing. Like walking through, you see them throughout the house, and you don't see one of them. Well, where's so and so? Where's number 3 or whatever? And she went and laid down and take a nap.
Yeah.
And so they'll so often put themselves to bed.
Yes. And one thing that we noticed, like during volleyball season, our teenagers get a lot less sleep because they have school in the morning and then they go to volleyball practice or games every single afternoon or sometimes evenings. Plus some of them are juggling work as well. And I know this is very familiar to you if you have teenagers in your house. And, there were times when our teenagers during volleyball season could not get like the amount of sleep they needed, and their bodies were even more exhausted because of the physical aspect of it. And so they were starting to put themselves to bed earlier.
When they could. I mean, some games
yes.
where we were out till midnight because of away games.
That's true. But when they could, they would come and they would just go to bed earlier. And it was so funny. We're like, oh,
which is weird around here because usually
asleep.
we're the first ones in bed and first ones to go to sleep.
Yeah. If you guys raise your children right, like we have, when you have teenagers, they will put you to bed and tuck you in.
Yeah.
It's pretty fabulous.
So we put them to bed, tuck them to bed. Now our turn's over.
Yep.
They take care of us.
They do it for us. But it's really important for your teenagers to get enough sleep, and that is going to help you. And I think a lot of people are like, help, I don't know what to do with my teenager. And there are a lot of things, communication skills and, helping them understand their emotions and blah, 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 tons of stuff. But let me tell you, start with sleep. Start with sleep. Your teenagers need a full night's sleep, and they may need some naps as well, depending on what's happening in their life. So make sure your teens are getting their sleep.
Yeah, and just as a parent, making sure that you understand that. Because I think sometimes, I'm guilty of this where it's like, okay, they're pretty self-sufficient. They get ready themselves. They've, for the most part, have the hygiene and all that figured out. They can cook for themselves. Like, I don't need to think about meals for them or whatever. And we just kind of assume that they can figure it out and they're getting the rest that they need, but that's not always the case. Mm-hmm. And so even though your child's out of the toddler stage and whatever else, I still as a parent have to do my best to ensure that our children are getting good quality sleep. Mm-hmm. It's just so good for overall health, not just for kids, but for us adults as well.
Yeah, that's right. So adults, that would be like from the ages of 18 to 64, and you probably fall somewhere in that. Are you closer to 64 or 18?
64, for sure.
That's pretty funny, babe. But generally, adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for optimal health and well-being. Now, the exact amount can vary depending on individual factors like genetics, activity level, and overall health. But you need to make sure that you are getting enough sleep, and maybe you have grown children who are out of the house. As you watch them and they struggle through life and they make poor decisions and they make good decisions and they have successes and failures and everything. One thing to pay attention to, or to maybe even ask them sometime, is, hey, are you getting enough sleep? What's your sleep like? I know I wish I would have understood my own sleep needs sooner. Thomas didn't even know that was what was wrong with me.
No, I just thought that's the way all women were.
Yeah. Yeah. All women are not like that. I had headaches every single day. Sometimes the headaches would move into migraine territory, but I was like living with headaches every single day, and everything I was doing with a headache. I, of course, was like brain tumor, maybe.
Literally. So here's the thing, guys. Every single day, my wife's like, I have a headache. And I'm like, I haven't even tried to approach you yet. Is this like preemptive strike here to make sure I don't come knocking on the door, or what's the deal?
When I say I did everything with a headache, I mean I did everything with a headache. I did not let my headaches prevent me from doing things that I was obligated
Wow, this sounds romantic, doesn't it? The obligation.
Just kidding. But if I would have just had somebody say, I wonder if it's because you're only getting 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I was drinking. Do you remember my apple cider vinegar phase.
Yep.
With the mother. I was drinking apple cider vinegar with the mother every morning, thinking that would somehow help my headaches. Like I had read somewhere that it would help.
You
It
just
did not.
need sleep.
I just had to sleep. And now that I know that I can handle that. Now my sister, who is 6 years older than me, she can go with 5 hours of sleep over and over and over and over and function fine.
So how many hours of sleep do you feel like you need a night?
Let me see here. I need 7. If I have less than 7, I don't feel well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere around 7. But I'm very good. I've learned how to listen to my body. So I've learned when I'm tired and I'm just like, okay, I need a nap, or I need to skip the gym today and sleep in. Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that too.
I'm good at doing that.
Yeah. You're definitely better than I am, but I'm getting there too, where I'm like, okay, if I go to bed this night with a headache, then take the alarm past gym time and skip the gym, because it's not worth getting a migraine to work out one more day. So that's how important sleep is.
So I love this verse here.
Okay.
Psalm 127, verse number 2. And this is a verse that Lysandra needed all those years ago. And so maybe this is a verse that you need right now. If you're one of those people, it feels like you just got to go, and you feel guilty resting and sleeping and whatever. It says this: "It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil."
Yes.
Well, the imagery that's given there. And then it says this: "For he gives to his beloved sleep."
Sounds like a gift.
It is a gift. It's also something that we need. Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing. If you just go all the time and you're always cutting your sleep, you're ruining your productivity in the long run. So you might accomplish a few things in the short run, but in the long run, you're doing a lot of damage to your health in a lot of different ways, emotionally, mentally, physically, and which will, it just kind of compounds.
Yeah, it does. Snowball effect, right?
And so it really doesn't matter, what it is you're trying to accomplish. Sleep needs to be an important part of your healthcare routine. Mm-hmm. And so even as an adult, having those sleep routines, we talked about that with infants and babies, but man, it's important for us as adults to have that sleep routine where it's like, okay, my body has learned that once I start this routine, it's time to go to sleep. And so Lysandra and I have that kind of pattern where we kind of busy throughout the day, and then when it's time to get ready for bed, we'll lay down, we'll watch a show together. Typically, I will lay on her stomach and she'll rub my head and I'll fall asleep.
Rock him to sleep like mommy.
Yep. My mom taught me that I need human touch and love in order to fall asleep.
Thanks a lot.
But we have that kind of pattern.
Yeah.
And even Lysandra now, once I start to lay on her, she starts to fall asleep because she's learned. And there's times where she's like sleeping and I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't like gone through the routine here yet.
Wake up, you still have to rub my head.
System broke down. But so even as an adult, it's important to get, have a good sleep routine, get the rest that you need.
Yep.
And family meeting tonight idea is just to sit down as a family and talk about sleep pattern, what's appropriate, and the conversation's going to look a little bit different depending on how old your kids are and everything else. But, you got younger kids, especially really young kids, infants and toddlers and everything else, having a conversation with your spouse about the kids' sleeping habits, how you feel like the routine's gone, what can you do to maybe have a little bit better and more solid routine, and just setting that pattern for your kids as well as for yourselves.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting next week as we discuss broken family relationships. With the holidays coming, I feel like any kind of broken family relationship is just magnified, and it's so much more painful at the holidays. And so we want to talk about this. There are some family members that no matter what you do, you can't be close to, no matter how hard you try. And how does this affect your emotional health? How does this make you feel about yourself? And how does God see you in these broken relationships? We want to talk about all that next time.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.
So what about you? How much sleep do you need? You need 5 hours, like Lysandra's sister? Is it 7? Are you more of like hey, I got to have 9 or 10, or I'm just not able to function properly? There's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of curious, like, what is the favorite part of your sleep routine? Like, what's the thing that you look forward to every night that kind of gets you into that place of finding the rest that you need? For me, it's getting right here next to her.
Every single night when we get into bed and he lays on my stomach, he says every single night, almost, this is my favorite part of my day.
Yeah.
It's very sweet, very romantic.
Yeah, because we're running here, running there, so much going on. And at night, it's just like I find Lysandra and you are my calm and my peace, and you bring rest. And I love that. So I'm looking forward to that tonight.
Yeah, not too long.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.